Well. The Bears won yet again. Of course they would. They should beat a bad team in the New York Giants. But before I continue on with my game recap, obviously I want to get this off my chest before I start the game recap officially and everything. Um Obviously there were some more serious topics that took place in terms of the NFL this week, especially for the Chicago Bears. You saw it at the start of the video before my intro, and that was obviously my moment of silence is not only for the passing of John Madden, but for the passing of ESPN Chicago Bears reporter Jeff Dickerson. Um, Now, obviously, we know John Madden. He's just a great, and that's going to be somebody that will, guess what? Everybody's going to miss, and it's a voice in the NFL that will never ever be replaced and stuff like that. He's history, and I would be extremely disappointed if his own video game did not have him on the cover. He should be on the cover for every copy. I don't care if it's the Legend Edition, this edition, or this regular standard edition. John Madden should be on the cover of the Madden 23 for all editions. It doesn't need you shouldn't have to shell out extra amount of money to get, like, say, the Legend Edition, and you get the John Madden cover. Every cover of Madden 23 should all have the John Madden, something about John Madden on the cover. Hopefully EA isn't so cash happy and tries to freaking screw fans over. But listen, in terms of John Madden, I only saw like highlights and stuff like that, and I think he was a very good, announcer, and he was a very good coach, and even he played in the NFL and stuff like that. But I really started watching football seriously the moment after he was really done commentating the game. So, that's the thing there. Now, as for the other guy, Jeff Dickerson, yeah, that one was really tragic. And for fans who don't know, Jeff Dickerson passed away. I believe it was Tuesday. No, it was definitely this past week. And he died from colon cancer, I believe, at the age of 44. Such a tragic loss. The thing is that makes it a lot more tragic is the fact that I believe a year before he passed away, his wife passed away from cancer. And then, a year later he passes away, and, he has a son, 11-year-old son. And it sucks because no child should have to lose both their parents at a young enough age like that. And what I will say is the Bears made a statement about it. It was one of the most beautifully made statements, and I did like the honoring of John Madden and Jeff Dickerson at the start of the game. That was definitely one of the best things, if not the best thing, the Bears have done all season long, with my constant criticism of this team. But like I said, no kid should have to go through that. And I really, really feel very bad for that kid. I don't want to know what he has to go through, stuff like that. And that goes for anybody. Nobody wants to lose their parents. But, eventually your parents obviously are going to go, and they're going to pass on. But that's my whole thing there. There is a GoFundMe thing going around. I will put the link in the description for the GoFundMe page. I think it's for Parker Dickerson. That's his son's name. If you want to donate some of your money towards that cause, even if it's a penny, I guarantee you any type of thing would help, and stuff like that. And like I said, the one thing that kind of pissed me off because Adam Schefter's been reporting about this and been keeping updates and stuff like that. I would always see different teams and stuff like that and other causes that would obviously support this, fund and everything. And I would see comments in the Twitters saying, or you have fans say like, why are they freaking doing that? They can go freaking fund something of more use and everything. Listen, if you're going to be like that, then please, You don't, yeah, I'll just let you guys know. You don't have to give money away if you feel like you don't need to give money away for a specific cause. Nobody's forcing you to do that. And you're not wrong. Yes, there are some other reason. There are some other causes that deserve to get attention and deserve to get money. But, this was started up. And like I said, it's an optional thing. You don't have to give your money to the Parker Dickerson thing going on. And I'm not going to judge you, and you shouldn't be judged if you needed to give your money. It's your money. You do what you do. It's like I say all the time, unless you're paying like your rent and a bunch of other stuff, that needs to be paid. It's up to you if you want to go pay $20 for a movie ticket. It's up to you if you want to pay this amount of money to buy a DVD or a video game or a PlayStation 5. That's up to you. That's your money. You do what you want to do. Nobody's forcing you to pay. So for the people that were kind of ripping this whole cause, please seriously get the F out of here. A kid lost his parents, and it's a way to support this kid. I just hope, Parker Dickerson's, in a good headspace, and, hopefully he can be able to get over this extreme, painful loss for him. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. I will leave a link in the description if you want to support that cause. And give some money away. Like I said, you don't have to give away like damn near like what teams are giving away like $5,000 essentially. But if you give away $1, hey, I guess for the cause, every little dollar helps, right? Hell, even every little penny helps. Yeah, but anyways, I want to move on to happier topics because I got a game I got to recap and talk about, and that's the Bears versus Giants game. And my God, wasn't me, or was this game just boring as all get up, bro? This game was boring, and excuse my language, but this game was boring as shit, man. Yeah, two bad teams playing each other, and it's just like, dude, come on. Like, yesterday, I watched the freaking Rose Bowl game. That was a high-powered offensive, very entertaining game. And I have to watch the replay of my Clippers game when we somehow beat the Nets. I still got to rewatch that game. But my goodness, that was a freaking day for my sports day yesterday. And then I realized late last night, I'm like, oh, shit. I have to watch freaking New York Giants versus Chicago Bears. I got to watch Mike Glennon versus Andy Dalton. And my God, if you're telling me I could get those 3 hours back, I wish I could, because I would have never had to wake up and watch this game. Holy hell, this game was freaking terrible. Good God. Now, I made it. If you follow my Twitter, let me just plug in my Twitter. Cameron D Winfrey, if you want to follow my Twitter. I made a comment talking about, geez, I know the Bears suck, but good hell. Would I want to be a dang New York Giants fan? Hell to the no. I don't want to know what they experienced because that crap was disgusting. And then I had some Giants fan come at me and stuff like that. But eventually we freaking resolved their tensions because all he was trying to say was really that the team around the Giants management sucks. And I'm like, see, that's all he had to say. But in the meantime, his tweets he was sending me sounded like he was trashing Justin Fields for sucking and like he's not going to have a long NFL career. And then he finally got to his point making sense at me of saying, well, the Giants are just a bad organization and I just don't like how they're being run. And I'm like, see, thank you. That's all you had to say. And we mutually agreed to the fact that not only the Giants have a terrible run organization, but the Bears too do have a terrible organization as well. Good God. That's what I'm saying. Jesus, I'm not trying to harp on, being a fan of one. I know being a Bear fan right now isn't the best thing, but God, being a Bear fan right now is 10 times better than being a Giants fan because I'll tell you one thing. I'll take Justin Fields over Daniel Jones 100% of the time. I had to tell this guy. Like, Daniel Jones is just an average quarterback. He's had more than enough time to show himself of who he is. He's an average quarterback that's had moments, but it's not going to take you over the top. He's just essentially a bona fide backup QB. eventually agreed with me, and we came and we didn't have to talk no more, and we didn't come to blows anymore. So good on that. I hope well, and I made sure to wish that Giants fan, hopefully our management structures freaking understand what the hell to do in the future. Good God. But speaking of backup quarterbacks, we had the backup quarterback matchup of Mike Glennon versus Andy Dalton. Oh, man. Lord, help me. See, this is what I'm talking about when you're a Giants fan. You see, in the draft this past year, you had a chance to take Mac Jones or Justin Fields. And you not only pass on both of them, you trade up to one of the opposing teams, or you trade back to make a trade with one of the teams, which is the Bears. So then they end up scooping one of the best quarterbacks in the draft still there. You're looking at this as a Giants fan, and you're like, why the hell are we stuck with Daniel Jones and Mike Glennon and freaking Jake Fromm and all this other crap? Jesus. We should have just taken Justin Fields or Mac Jones at the start, and we would have at least been maybe going in the right direction because we got somewhat the quarterback thing fixed. But no, they don't. And now they're stuck, and then it's already bad enough that they already said they're going to bring back Joe Judge and Daniel Jones for another year. That's why I said, Lord have mercy, I'm not a Giants fan. Geez, I guarantee it's probably better to be a Jets fan, even though they suck too. At least they got somewhat of a decent quarterback in Zach Wilson. They just got to build around him. And they got to just find some way to improve that team altogether. But my God, let me read you the stats from Mike Glennon. This cat was 4 for 11, 24 yards, 2 picks, took 4 sacks. Team as a whole had negative 10 passing yards. If I look at the team stats, good God. Let me see team stats. Total passing yards, negative 10 yards. Have you heard of something like that? A negative 10-yard passing? Negative 10-yard passing. What the? And this is when you know a game's bad. This is when you know this team and the New York Giants suck when you have your quarterback who's starting with a negative 10 total pass yards. Like, who gets into the negatives? Jesus. I was waiting for the Giants to eventually just put Jake Fromm in there and say, and ask him, like, okay, what can you give us, man? But my God, they just stuck with Mike Glennon. Holy hell, even as a Bears fan, I'm watching this, and I'm like, God, you cannot freaking just keep putting Mike Glennon out there. He sucks. My God, that guy was terrible. How does this guy have an NFL contract? If I was the New York Giants front office, I would have cut this guy first thing after the game's over. Negative 10 passing yards. As a total? Please, get out of here. Yeah, you can go. Look, whenever, I don't know his contract or whatever right now, but no NFL team should never pick Mike Glennon up again. That guy sucks at his job. He just needs to retire and either think about being a coach or something or invested in another job, like maybe McDonald's. He would look good as a McDonald's cashier, probably flipping burgers, just like how Matt Nagy does. He can join the Matt Nagy McDonald's organization. You know, the one that can offer high-paying jobs and, you know, get paid time off for not doing absolutely nothing. Good God. Jesus. Honest to God, I thought I was about to bleed my eyes out every time I saw Mike Glennon freaking drop back to back. It got so bad to the point where the Giants strictly just gave the ball to the running backs. They're like, just do something, man. Just do something because we can't trust our quarterback because he sucks. Speaking of the running backs, Saquon Barkley had 21 carries for 102 yards. He had no touchdowns. So I guess you can say he had a decent revenge game against the Bears, but he didn't get the W because if you remember, he got hurt the last time he went to Soldier Field. Booker, 18 carries, 46 yards. So in total, they had 39 carries. If you had the Glennon one, they had 40 carries, but they had 39 carries between their two running backs. That's how much it goes to show you how much they trusted their running backs over their quarterback. And Glennon only had 11 attempts. And he only completed 4 passes. Listen, The Sean Desai defense, okay, fine. They came to play, yada, 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 whatever. But they played a bad Giants team with a very bad quarterback that shouldn't even be in this league anymore. So, yeah. Now I'll get to my Glennon / Pace take at the end when I end this video off. Let's get to the Bears' offensive statistics. Because, really, what other stuff I need to talk about? For some dumb reason, in a freaking very cold snow flurry game, Matt Nagy just obviously had to give Andy Dalton the start for some damn reason. Yeah, and I already, on my Twitter expressed the reasoning. But for you guys to know, my reasoning going into this game when Nagy announced that Dalton was the starter, I was like, why not just start Foles? Why are you going to start a guy that had a 4-interception, almost 5-interception game, but then you don't want to start the guy that actually did something better than him, and that's Nick Foles? Nope, let's start Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton played a serviceable enough game to get the W, but he still didn't look impressive. I thought Andy Dalton sucked today, if you ask me. The dude only had 18 completions and only had 35 attempts. Don't know why. Oh, yeah, David Montgomery had a passing attempt. Don't know why. It's like 4th and short, and they try to do some sort of stupid trick play. David Montgomery throw the ball. He got picked off anyways. Stupid idiot. Nagy calling a dumb play call. Just run the ball up the middle if you're going to go for it on 4th down. That's another thing that pisses me off. So when things don't matter anymore, now we start going for it on 4th down. Now we don't start acting like we're cowards. We're just going to go for it on 4th down every 4th and short now. We could have used that when the season still mattered most. God help me. But like I said, Andy Dalton sucked ass today. 18 for 35. The reason why you have this old-ass Andy Dalton guy throwing 35 attempts in a game in very frigid temperatures, cold all over, and when I'm looking at Andy Dalton pass the ball, holy hell, Jesus. Makes me admire the fact that we got Justin Fields and he's got a strong-ass arm. This guy, Andy Dalton's got probably one of the weakest arms in the NFL I've ever seen in my life. There were some throws I saw him. He couldn't even eclipse past 5 yards. Like they were freaking wobbly and freaking just having no freaking velocity or speed on the throw. They were just stuck in the air. Like, my God. And then because he has not a good arm, and the ball's not coming out at a fast rate, it's always slowing down because guess what? He has got no velocity on his throws. Some of the passes are behind the dang receivers. And it's like, Jesus, like the Marquise Goodwin one. Marquise Goodwin had a touchdown, but it was like right behind him. Marquise Goodwin should have still caught the pass, but goodness. Another one was like, Darnell Mooney ran like some sort of out route. I don't know how many yards it was, but the ball was so had too much air because guess what? Or dang near no amount of air. Guess what? It didn't do anything. Another pass, it was like a deep pass, like a crossing deep pass to Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney had to actually try to reach over it. It ended up being a drop. They had to reach over it because there was not enough air on the ball. If there was more air in the ball, Darnell Mooney catches it in stride and he rocks into the touchdown. Like, Jesus. Why are you giving Andy Dalton 35 passing attempts and he can barely get the ball past 5 yards? Jesus. He checks it down, and that actually has more velocity than passes dang near 10 yards. Now we know why Andy Dalton never passes the ball down the field, because he knows he can't do that. It's like Drew Brees last year. He has a weak arm that can't pass the ball or actually threaten a defense because he doesn't have that arm strength no more because he's old. Jesus. I'd rather see Nick Foles do that, and I think Nick Foles personally has a stronger arm. At least a positive is that the fact that David Montgomery got 22 carries, he should have got more. And he had 2 TDs for 64 yards, so that's good. Nice. I'll take it. He should have more carries, to be honest. In terms of the receiving, Darnell Mooney, again, leads the receivers in the most receptions. 7 receptions for 69 yards on 1 TD. Allen Robinson, he came back. He's probably thinking his lucky stars because he got one more game and then he can kiss Chicago goodbye. Good riddance then, because Clearly, your heart was never in it to begin with. At least give me some damn effort, you fucking clown. Allen Robinson the second. 4 receptions for 35 yards. Cole Kmet, 3 receptions for 25 yards. Bird, 1 reception for 23. Montgomery, 2 receptions for 17. Jesse James, 1 reception for 4 yards. Jimmy Graham was targeted once. Marquise Goodwin was targeted twice. And then Damian Williams was targeted once. You see the thing about the freaking receiving? There's no, like, spread around. It's like it's only directly stuck on Darnell Mooney. I hope whatever new coaching staff comes in, make sure is to make Justin Fields like, listen, we're going to have different types of routes that's going to get people open, hopefully, so we can spread the wealth amongst the ball. Yeah, we want to have that one go-to guy that their Bears are going to eventually have to take in the draft unless they somehow freaking sign a big-name free agent wide receiver and bring him to the team. And I'll get into my thoughts on why the Bears need to take the formula of what the freaking Cincinnati Bengals are doing. But, you look at it, and it's like, you look at the statistics in terms of receiving, there's not enough spread around wealth. Like, not another receiver at least has 5 receptions or more. Like, Darnell Mooney has 7. Then you go look at guys like Allen Robinson. You're like, that's the thing. Now, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because Darnell Mooney's the only guy getting open. All the other receivers just refuse to get open. I think it's a little bit of that and a little bit of Nagy's horrific scheme. Terrible. Whatever. So, yeah. That's the thing there. There's nothing else really left to talk about because what else is there to talk about this game? This game was a freaking boring, pointless game. There's nothing left to talk about. Mike Glennon sucked. Andy Dalton sucked equally. But the Bears ended up winning. The Bears should have, in all honesty, you should have put up like damn near 40 points on them. But of course, the Bears offense is so anemic, they could never do that. So, of course. But hey, at least the Bears defense held a pretty terrible Giants offense to 3 points. Yeah. I hope the McCaskies don't buy into that. But speaking of the McCaskies and what they need to do is, we already know, apparently there was reports saying that, well, by the time the season ends, Nagy's gone. Okay, fine. Good. Add paste to that picture too. And what I mean by this is this. After seeing Mike Glennon play, if I'm management, if I'm somebody in Chicago's Bears management who's actually not an idiot and they're actually really care about this damn team wanting to get better, you need to look at Ryan Pace and be like, wait a second. We signed Mike Glennon to $45 million back in the 2017 season. And this guy essentially had a total yard passing of negative 10 yards. And he looked terrible. Yeah. My goodness. You shouldn't freaking... You should look at Pace and you should be like, oh, hell no. You need to go just as well as Matt Nagy. Are you kidding me? Ryan Pace needs to get equally as fired for what I just saw on that field from Mike Glennon. He paid Mike Glennon like he's some sort of franchise quarterback. Look at Mike Glennon. He's not even good enough to be a backup quarterback. He's probably not even good enough to be a practice squad quarterback. Good God. After seeing that performance from Mike Glennon, that should be immediate termination for Ryan Pace's sake too. Good God. I somewhat gave Pace a benefit of the doubt. Maybe you could freaking keep him. Maybe you can't. I'd rather want him gone. But after seeing this game, now you got to get him gone out of here. Mike Glennon looked like a damn freaking high school football player. He looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there. Yeah, the team around him sucks. But God, he sucks even worse. So get Ryan Pace out of here too. Another thing I want to mention before I get to my point about the Bears maybe taking notes from the Bengals organization. And that's the whole aspect. Oh, I forgot to mention this in the defensive segment. But congratulations to Robert Quinn on setting the single season sack record for the Chicago Bears in history. Now he's the single season leader for sacks in one season. And let me just tell you this. Last year, I was a huge critic of freaking Robert Quinn. And I was on the train. Freaking trade him, bro. We don't need this guy if he's going to be not even freaking giving us any effort whatsoever. But I will admit, I was wrong about Robert Quinn. I'll say this in my season in review video in 2 weeks after the Vikings game. I will admit I was wrong about Robert freaking Quinn. That guy, he balled out this entire season. And if there's one positive thing to take a outlook on this season, it was Robert Quinn having a bounce back year, and he should win comeback player of the year. He should. Because after the season he had last year, you as a Bear fans were literally thinking, we just freaking are wasting a bunch of freaking money. Now we see what Robert Quinn's doing this year, and we're like, not a waste of money. And it makes it very hard because it's like, you need draft capital, but you can't trade a guy like Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, even though I'm fine if the Bears just say, we got to trade him because we need to get draft capital. Like, seriously, just say we still have our first round pick. Even if we did trade up for Justin Fields, say we still have our first round pick. We would have to add the 8th pick in the draft. That's where we would have probably been at. We would have had the 8th pick in the draft. So, yeah, that's the thing there. But credit to Robert Quinn. Clearly, he was hurt last season, and that affected his play. And the fact that we got a 100% healthy Robert Quinn, he's a mauler. He's a dog. And you hope with Khalil Mack, if he doesn't get traded, I don't know. Because this Bears team has a lot of questions they got to ask going into the offseason. Are they going to trade some of their higher paid players to alleviate some cap space and maybe get some high draft capital in return? Whether that's maybe early or late second round picks for guys, or if people still feel like, hey, maybe you trade one of these pass rushers, you can get a first round pick, at least one. Then, okay, but hey, if Khalil Mack stays here next year, maybe if he comes off his injury, maybe he looks just like this, like a dominant Khalil Mack. And I hope he looks like that. Because Robert Quinn just showed, okay, he was clearly affected by injury. We know Khalil Mack has been affected over the last couple of years, has been nicked up and knacked in. We haven't seen a dominant Khalil Mack since really 2018. And you hope if Khalil Mack does return to this team next year, fully healthy after taking essentially a whole year off, he gets back to his old self. And guess what? He shows that dominant self like Robert Quinn does. So, yeah, just wanted to give my whole thing about the Robert Quinn. I know you were probably saying as a Bear fan, this guy's not talking about Robert Quinn yet. Come on, you got to talk about Robert Quinn. I talked about him. Don't worry, I didn't forget. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. Last point of the video before I get out of here. And that's the whole thing of the fact that I think the Bears might need to take notes from what the Bengals did. The Bengals did. Because if you didn't know, the Bengals just won the AFC North. Yes, and that's after a year where they lost a rookie quarterback for a year in Joe Burrow. Yes, the same Cincinnati Bengals team that we made look like complete dog shit in week 2. But remember, that was so early on, the Bengals were trying to figure out who they were. They figured out who they are now. Jamar Chase is balling. Joe Burrow's got that offense humming. Hopefully, for the Bengals' sake, Joe Burrow isn't hurt. He didn't tear something in his knee because he got hurt at the last bit of that game. Hopefully, for their sake, because that would completely derail their chances in the playoffs. And I think they got a pretty damn good shot to maybe at least get pretty damn far in the playoffs. That says a lot. And that goes to show you how much the Bengals have changed within a year. And it goes to show you, and I'm going to say this, I think the Bears are good enough to make the wild card. I think they have enough talent on their team to make the wild card. I think the thing is, this issue is flat out coaching. I think the Bears, with the exception of a few things that they need to improve through the draft and through free agency to get better at certain positions, like the receiving core and their offensive line play, truly, and really their secondary, I think the Bears are fine for the most part. I think they have talent that can get them to the playoffs, that can get them to the wild card at least. I'm not saying win the division and say, God help me if Rodgers fucking returns. We're never going to win the division until he's gone for good, like till he retires. But you look at the Bengals, they took advantage of a year to win, well, You can say it's debatable how they won the North, but they still went out and won the North. They beat teams that they needed to beat, whether they were good or not. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home. I think that's a solid enough freaking win. You go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs? They almost fumbled that game away anyways. If it wasn't for freaking the penalties the Chiefs had late in that game, the Chiefs might have ended up going down the field, kicking the game-winning field goal to win the game. I don't know why the Bengals just didn't kick the field goal to move on, but hey, they took the risk of trying to maybe draw a penalty or get into the end zone because they didn't want to have a chance to have freaking Patrick Mahomes go down the field and just kick a field goal to either tie or win the game. I can respect that. You're at home. You might as well do it. What you got less to lose? And you're going for the North? If anything, the other AFC North teams around you ain't doing shit. Steelers suck this year. They're going to suck for quite a while anyways because they're going to have no quarterback. The Ravens, they're kind of in a kerfluffle, but I would say this was kind of an off year for them because most of their guys got hurt. And the Browns, well, they're a good team. I think they're a decent enough team. I think they're a playoff-like team. Guess who they're getting held back by? Oh, well, just like the Steelers, the freaking quarterback. Team that has talent, team that is solid, just held back by their quarterback. That's kind of the same thing where the Steelers and the Browns are at. But because of those, the Bengals took advantage of the opportunity, and guess what? Going forward, they're going to be a competitive-ass team in the AFC North for years to come. That AFC North is going to get tough. It's going to be a tough division. It's going to be even tougher whenever the Steelers and the Browns actually get a legit quarterback in there. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson's good, but the same thing is issue. You have to force him to be a passer. And when you force him to be a passer, you can have him actually struggle. And it's a lot easier to beat the Ravens, even when they got a tough defense. Bengals, if you ask me, are probably the one team in that division that has a legit offense that you should be afraid of. And when I'm getting to my point of why the Bears need to copy the Bengals' style of how they did it, what did the Bengals do? Yeah, they need to improve their offensive line. They still do. But guess what? Guys on the offensive line stepped up. They played, they get to the ability to play above average. And guess what that goes to? That goes to everything that leads to simple stuff in football. Technique, fundamentals, and coaching. All those three aspects combine into one, and your players can play above average. All those things, especially from the fundamentals standpoint. I played football. Trust me, the fundamentals, the basics will always help you. It isn't just, yes, even if you have talent, the number one thing is to make that talent even better than it already is just sticking with the pure fundamentals of the game. So you have the offensive line playing above average compared to what it was. And you had people questioning why the Bengals didn't take Penei Sewell. They took Jamar Chase. Well, you see what Jamar Chase is doing. He's legit one of the best receivers in the game, one of the best young receivers in the game. They already got a solid freaking receiving cast. Boyd and freaking T. Higgins. Jamar Chase. I forgot who their tight end is, but he's pretty good too. And what did they do? They got Joe Mixon as the running back. And they got Joe Burrow as the quarterback. And guess what? They got a solid top 15 offense. And they're damn good. And what I'm trying to say is this. This is the replica that the Bears need to follow. The Bears still need to hire the right head coach, and they need to hire the right GM, and hopefully get the right president if they fire Ted Phillips, which they should. They need to go up in there, completely just go into this draft and understand and draft and free agent. Listen, the only thing we need to improve on in terms of the defense is that secondary. We need to fix the opposite corner, opposite of Jalen Johnson. And we need to fix the safety position. And that's the opposing safety away from Eddie Jackson. Because I don't think Tashawn Gibson's all right, but he's not all that. But like I said, they got to fix that secondary. And that goes to developing talent. And that also goes to free agency in the draft. Getting those hitters that are different difference makers. That's the only thing, if you ask me, the defense needs to solve on going into next year is the secondary and essentially just getting more depth for the defensive line. But that's stuff you can take care of, especially defensive line play. But secondary, that needs to be. But the most important thing is they need to center around building the offense around Justin. That starts with improving the offensive line play and getting Justin weapons. Weapons. You got something in Darnell Mooney, who's a nice solid number 2, but you need a go-to number 1 guy. Whether you get that in free agency or you get that in the draft, preferably you get that in the draft. You pair Justin up with a young rookie wide receiver and you make that your number 1 guy. Whether that's Olave in the draft, if he's still there, freaking Ball from Purdue that's still there. You get somebody that can be wide receiver type material. Lord have mercy. I saw the Ohio State game yesterday. I'm like, I would be killing myself if we could get that Njigba. He's freaking, he's the type of guy that could be a wide receiver 1 in this league. After what I saw, that's what the Bears need to do. And they need to surround Justin Fields with enough talent and enough offense to make sure he goes. You got the running back situation fine. David Montgomery, freaking Khalil Herbert as the backup. And guess what? Whoever the third back is, I don't care. But those are your 2 backs. Those are your 2 backs. There you go. Larry Borum seems to be a solid right tackle. Tevin Jenkins, I need to see more. He didn't play for some dumb reason. If he was good to go, he didn't play. Jason Peters, for some dumbass reason, started today. Play Tevin Jenkins next year, whoever the coach is next year. See what he gets us, and hopefully Tevin Jenkins ends up being the future left tackle. Then you fix that interior of the offensive line. Whether that ends up with you resigning James Daniels, fine. I personally am the advocate. Get rid of Sam Mustipher and get rid of Cody Whitehair. You got to fix that interior of the offensive line. That offensive line interiorly in the interior sucks. Maybe you got your tackles right. For your left tackle, I still say maybe you sign a veteran left tackle in free agency. And who knows what you do next. We'll see what happened, what goes on. And then in terms of the weapons, you freaking give Justin Fields weapons to work with. Not these B plus C plus players. Okay, Darnell Mooney can stay. Allen Robinson gone. You draft a receiver more preferably likely that has wide receiver 1 talent, that is a go-to guy, like a Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson. You know, guys of that caliber. You have nice, solid pieces around those 2. You need a third receiver. You can't have a whole, is Demir Bird the third receiver, Jakeem Grant the third receiver, or is, Marquise Goodwin the third receiver? You need a solid third receiver. And then you need a 4th one, then potentially a 5th one. At least solid guys where they can go out there, create separation, get open, and gives Justin a lot of freaking options to give the ball to. You're going to have to improve on Cole Kmet and coach him up and to get him better to be the tight end he is. Otherwise, you go find yourself a tight end, whether it's in free agency or late in the draft. Late. And you build around that and you develop the talent and that coaching staff. And see, that's one thing. The next thing is the coaching staff that inherits that said talent from draft and free agency has to develop that said talent, because they got to be adjusted to the league. And if they're adjusting, and that's what the Bengals did. The Bengals developed their talent with their coaching. And it goes to show you how bad the coaching in Chicago is when it comes to Matt Nagy holding his talent back. That's the number one thing this coaching staff does not do. They don't teach them the fundamentals. They don't coach them up. They don't hold these players accountable. And they don't freaking develop the young player talents. They're holding out freaking rookie guys that actually need to be up in there for veteran guys that have no business being in this league anymore. That goes to show you how much the coaching staff has some sort of stupid political agenda. And they're rather, instead of doing what's best for the Bears, they want to do what's best for them. So then they can look at maybe potentially keeping their job or maybe making them look better. Develop the talent. And Matt Nagy, in his entire tenure here, has never developed young talent. He has always gone away from that. He never developed Trubisky. He never is developing Justin, despite what he says. I think Justin Fields has far outplayed what Matt Nagy has done to him this year. He doesn't play, Nagy doesn't play talent like Borum and Jenkins. He'd rather give the start to guys like Peters and Fetty instead of let Tevin and Borum get starts to develop. He won't start guys like Thomas Graham on defense to get better on defense as a corner. I think I saw Thomas Graham in the slot, but I didn't see him a lot on the field. What are we doing? And that's what I'm talking about. Take a playbook out, a bunch of these young up-and-coming teams with offenses, preferably the Bengals. Copy their formula. Build around your young rookie quarterback. And your young rookie quarterback turns out to do great things next year or 2 years from now before his deal comes up. You can look at him, sign him to a nice deal, and be like, let's go. And there you go. The same thing happened with Patrick Mahomes, too. Yeah, he inherited that talent from Andy Reid because it was already there. But guess what? They already had talent right there ready for him, already prepared for him. Look at him now. That's what I'm talking about. You give the young players these necessary talent to help them out better, as well as you as the coach doing your due diligence to put your young rookie quarterback, your young quarterback in the best position to succeed till he's able to be at the level where he can take the reins himself. That's it, plain and simple. That's it, plain and simple. I'll be refuting this point in my season recap again. So, yeah, but other than that, the Bears beat the Giants 29-3. The Bears moved to 6-10. They got one more game left on the season against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. So I expect that game to be a loss. So they're going to finish the year 6-11 potentially. Maybe they finish the year 7-10. Should still have Matt Nagy be fired at the end of the year because guess what? You fired Lovie Smith for having a 10-6 season. That's more of a positive record than what Nagy's having under freaking 10 wins. Under 8 wins, really, truly this year. 7-10 isn't impressive. And you suck at your job, and fans are clearly mad. And then speaking of fans, did you see Soldier Field today? Good God, they showed so many overhead shots, and there was no Chicago Bear fans in Soldier Field. That goes to show you how much nobody cares about this team anymore. So I hope the McCaskies were watching. The fact that their building is not even sold out. There's empty seats all over the place because nobody cares anymore. Everybody wants Nagy fired, so they're not going to dish out how much money they have to dish out and deal with to friggin' watch this inept team, especially they don't want to friggin' go there in the cold for 3 hours to watch Andy Dalton. Jesus. That's what I'm saying. The Bears are doing themselves a disservice. They don't fire Matt Nagy at the end of the season. But you want to be the same idiots that's willing to fire frickin' Lovie Smith after a 10-6 record. But you don't want to fire Matt Nagy if he ends up with a 6-11 record or a 7-10 record. What are we doing? And also, one more thing about Nagy. It seems like Nagy has won damn near on almost every holiday this year. Hold on. I need to pull up the schedule, man. What is it? No. He didn't win on nearly every holiday. The only one holiday he didn't win on was Halloween. But then again, he didn't coach that game, so that doesn't, I guess I wouldn't say that wouldn't count for him. But he's won every dang holiday this year. He won his Thanksgiving Day game. He's won his post-Christmas Day game. And now, like I said last week, he was going to win his post-New Year's Day game. So that means he's won 3 holiday victories. I hope Matt Nagy feels good about that. Anyways, hopefully by the time the end of my recap is going on. Hopefully I get the alert to my phone that Matt Nagy is fired. Bear fans, we only have one more week to deal with the ineptitude of Matt Nagy. Crossing my fingers. Hopefully that's the case. Because you never can, or you never will, or you should trust the McCaskies. But hopefully after the Vikings week, this is the last game of the Matt Nagy era of Chicago Bears football. And I'm holding my peace on that. Hopefully it is. Hopefully after the game against the Vikings is over, I get an alert to my phone where I'm doing my recap and not only have to talk about the breaking news of the Bears season being over, but the breaking news that Matt Nagy has been relieved of his duties. But regardless, I will talk about that and then make it a separate video whenever Matt Nagy gets fired. And we'll even go into more depth with my Uncle Daryl on our season recap. But other than that, guys, that's it. So if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this week's game against the Giants. Like I said, it was a boring game. Nothing really to take away. So that's why I kind of didn't talk much about the game. As well as hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Chicago Bears content. Again, like I said, more than likely next year, after next week, I'm probably going to create a sports channel strictly only for sports. And I'll make sure that I do a video that is just going to talk about sports, and it's going to talk about all the sports. NBA, MLB, maybe MLB. It'll probably just be an NBA, NFL channel strictly, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of the thing there. But yeah, that's going to be it. But yeah, so look forward to that. I believe I'm going to make that channel. I'm gonna make that channel starting sometime this week. It'll just be in its developmental phase, and then after week 18 is over, or after the last week of football, the Chicago Bears stuff, I'll upload it not only to this channel, but I'll also upload it to the other channel, and just let you guys know and stuff like that. So yeah, but other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Again, hopefully your New Year's is getting off to a great start. And yeah, again, stay safe. And I'll see you guys next week for Chicago Bears versus Minnesota Vikings game recap and the last game of the Chicago Bears season. Till then, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.